Good afternoon on what is a mild but now grey and cloudy day. It is Wednesday, the 29th of October. I'm in the reading nook with a nice hot cup of tea and a box set to unbox. Now, not to anyone's real surprise, Wizards of the Coast released a new Dungeons & Dragons starter set. This is Heroes of the Borderlands. It's designed to introduce players to Dungeons & Dragons, and specifically the version of Dungeons & Dragons released in 2024 on the role-playing game's 50th anniversary. And this takes the game back to not quite where it started, but where it started for a lot of people, which is Keep on the Borderlands, the adventure B2, which appeared in the starter sets, in particular the BX starter set from for basic Dungeons & Dragons that was published in 1980 and 81. And it appeared in subsequent starter sets as well. So that is a very different approach and version of that setting. There are a lot of similarities, but there are some differences. But what was the surprise was, more or less at the same time, Wizards of the Coast released a second starter set. This is Dungeons & Dragons Welcome to Hellfire Club, based upon the Netflix TV series Stranger Things. And Stranger Things always has had an association with Dungeons & Dragons because the cast do play Dungeons & Dragons in the game. It's one of the reasons why a lot of players, a lot of people embrace the series, because they would play Dungeons & Dragons and they could see it being played, and it reminded them of their beginnings with the game back in the 80s when they were playing Dungeons & Dragons and it was not a cool thing to do. So there's a nice tie-in, but it's the second tie-in. The first tie-in was for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and was not as successful, was not as good, and certainly not as weighty as this box. This box weighs about £5. There's not a lot of difference in terms of weight in them. Okay. Welcome to the Hellfire Club. Experience Eddie Munson's Lost Dungeons & Dragons adventure. One player takes the mantle of the Hellfire Club leader and dungeon master, whilst the others play the characters like Erica Sinclair's backstabbing rogue, Lady Applejack, or Dustin Henderson's battle-loving cleric, Nog the Dwarf. Embark on cooperative adventures inspired by Stranger Things and earn your place in the Hellfire Club. Relive Stranger Things. Travel back in time to the spring of 1986 with the immersive components like Hellfire Club's ready-to-play character sheets, collectible cards, and double-sided Hellfire Club poster. Hellfire Games. Battle vile monsters from demon dogs to devils. Delve into the Veil of Shadows and solve the Dockside murders across 4 adventures. Every adventure has many potential possibilities and outcomes. For all fans, this game is a blast for all skill levels. Everything you need to play is included. So, how much of an introductory role-playing game this is, I don't know, but we're going to have a look and find out. Because it almost seems ridiculous that Wizards of the Coast has produced 2 sort of like introductory products for the same for the same game at the same time. But the other thing, this has also come out in time for Halloween, about the right time of year. So, you know, giving you a bit of a nice touch of horror to your Dungeons & Dragons gaming as well. So, let's open up, okay. Nothing much to see there. Let's put that over there out of the way. And inside, this is what you've got. So it includes basically photograph of all the members of the Hellfire Club in kind of classic high school friends club pose. You know, I mean, it's the sort of thing you get on the posters for any kind of movie films set in an American high school, you know, in the 90s or, you know, 80s and so on, that sort of thing. But, and on the back, got a bit of a note. And then you've got the Read Me First Quick Start Guide. Tells you what's in the box. You know, items that are for everyone, for the Dungeon Master only. I mean that's more or less following the pattern set by the Heroes of the Borderlands box set. But that's a really good way to divide things up. But it's explaining what's in there altogether. You turn over the page, and it's modelling the same kind of thing. It's telling you how to play your character, how to be the Dungeon Master. It's giving you the basics of the game, and what you do. And then on the back, it breaks down the components one by one, telling you what they all are. And then you've got the play guide. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows all the rules by heart. I sure as hell don't. That's what this booklet is for. The rules here to help everyone at the table tell a story. If you ever feel like the rules are getting in the way of that, remember, the utmost important rule of all, have fun. So that's on the back, you know, where you can see it. So we open up, we've got the contents, welcome to adventure, breakdown of sort of like, you know, here's a description of sort of like the components in the game. So magic items, cards, spell cards, the character sheets, and the character sheets really echo those published by TSR for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, I think, back in the day, you know, with that yellow paper. And does the same thing for your monster cards, and then a guide there on how to play the game. Taking you through, there's a picture of the dice there, and then the characters actually in play, you know, basically showing you sort of like what's going on in their imagination. Kind of classic depiction of role-playing. And absolutely one of the things, so you've got the rules glossary, but one of the things here that this does not feel like a cheap knockoff. Does not feel like, you know, we've got this connection, we've got this license. It's clear, all right, they are using the same format as Heroes of the Borderlands, but they are actually really, you know, taking you through the process step by step, telling you what's going on, you know, and taking their time to do it. And it's really nicely appointed as well. This version is actually a little bit more text heavy, I think, than the Heroes of the Borderlands. So that's the play guide. Then you've got a much thinner book. This is the Vanishing Gnome. And the style here, I think the other thing to take account of, this is really echoing the trade dress of basic Dungeons and Dragons for what would have been the version that was available in 1986, which would have been the Beckney version, the Basic Expert Master Companion Immortals series of box sets. This, you know, that's this right down to the ampersand and the lettering. That's the trade dress. That's really nicely done. And that's showing you the map for the adventure. And this is relatively short. You can probably play through this, I suppose, in a single session. You've got the next adventure, the Scream of the Crop. And even the artwork, echoes the style you know, seen in basic Dungeons and Dragons back in the day. There you've got the cavern layout. Okay. Ballad of the Rat King. And I think also the other thing I didn't actually see there is there is some notes at the beginning of the adventure. So you know, okay. There's a bit of classified notes there, almost done as sort of like sticky notes. We'll see they've done it before it's been done here. So you've got the sort of like bit of advice there for the game master, sort of done as a bit of scrap paper, amended to the adventure. In the next adventure, there we go. And this is, we've got a murder mystery here. We've got the docks. So a bit more role-playing, less dungeoneering, I suppose. In some ways, you've got an investigative adventure. And even, you know, you've got somewhere where you can go and buy things. Nice nod there to, you know, the sort of like the, you know, basically the soda parlour, ice cream parlour, whatever it is, in Stranger Things. And then we've got Devil Metal Die. So this is the last one. This takes one that's sort of like a bit more, I suppose, it's a bit more occult based with that, you know, hinting at the sort of the Hellfire Club and its sort of kind of satanic kind of links and things. And then we have, I think it's one of the handouts. It's, God, don't think you're actually supposed to read it, but you've got a contract there. Perhaps the characters shouldn't sign. A missing poster. So we've got some handouts as well. And these are the character sheets. And I really like these. These are, you know, ready to play. And, you know, they really do sort of like echo the style and look of something you might have got from TSR back in the 80s. They're not exact. But here we've got, there's the one character. I mean, these are all, you've got different character sheets for different levels. So the versions, so that's the level 1, and then the level 2, and the level 3. They're all the same character, but you get different character sheets each time at each stage. And this is different to what you get in the Heroes of the Borderlands setting, where essentially you've got kind of a whole different double-sided character sheets, which you turn over as you level up and then put things on. And then, like the Heroes of the Borderlands, you've got this section here, this is going to contain all of the maps. So if I pull that out, okay. And I said there's a lot to this box set. Much like the Heroes of Borderlands, you do get your money's worth. So this is the map for the Docks adventure. So Oakshore Docks, there we go. And on the back, you've got the Dungeon of Shadows. And the Hellfire. This is the Hellfire Dome for the last adventure, I think. Yep. And then the farm tunnels on the back. And the maps themselves are color coded sort of to those books as well, to some extent. So the last thing you've got here is actually a poster rather than a map. I say you've got a poster there, you know, Eddie Munson's play behind his Dungeon Master screen, and then you've got a map of the world where all of this is all taking place. And that slots back in there like that. Just hold it into place and stop it sliding around in the box. Below that, you have tokens. These are black and white rather than colour. That's a little bit disappointing. There's the big bads. There we go. And also there's the player characters as well. Then you've got that, and this is you know, Eddie Munson's own Dungeon Master screen. So you've literally got them sort of kind of playing in the basement, like they are in Stranger Things, you know, because that's where you go and play D&D. You play D&D, sort of like in America, in the basement sort of thing. It's kind of the classic kind of setup. And on the back, you've got conditions, action summary, and so on. Just overview of the rules, map of the world. So you get a screen in there as well. And you've got a cover piece of cardboard with the bits and pieces below, just a piece of blank cardboard. So you've got a plastic tray, and there's the dice you need. And I was just checking, you actually get two 20-sided dice, which is good. And then you get so let's just undo this if I can find it. Oh, there we go. I'm always trying to get my fingernails. There we go. I'm just trying. That didn't want to come off. Right. There we go. Put that in my pocket for disposal. So, what we've got here is the magic items. So adamantine armor, and then so it's telling you breastplate, armor medium, armor class benefit, description on the back, and you go through cap of vanishing, cloak of billowing, +1 dart, dread helm, +1 flail, flame tongue, poison soaked kukri, potion of healing, and so on. So you've got all these, those are the magical items. And then the second bigger let's get the knife under this. See if that's going to come out. There we go. Give that a pull. These are quite tightly wrapped, and but that's how they should be. So these are more. You've got spell cards, so that's aid, bless. So they, you know, basically saying you range 30 foot, targets up to 3, you bless up to 3 creatures, including yourself, within range. The simple instructions and more details on the back. Burning hands, you've got a little cone there to show you sort of like the range and so on. So, and I mean, this does actually use a lot of kind of the, I don't know, the symbology and sort of like the architecture and setup sort of, you know, of the heroes of the Borderlands, but it's different, and it's got an entirely different kind of feel to it. Then we've got combat tracker, for use by the Gate Dungeon Master. I've got hold of it. And then lastly, some reference cards. So let's have a look. Yeah, there we go. See if I get into these a bit more easily. Just getting stuck on that seal thing. So for example, on your turn, combat. This is the reference card, what you can do, and there's several of these. So that gives you the actions, gives you some idea of what you can do. So that's a nice reference card. You know, it's giving it to you in an easy to digest fashion. And then we've got the classic monsters. Stats on the back. Some of them are in red, so presumably that's kind of tied to the different adventures. So yeah, different colours. So let's just go through some of them. Commoner. Oh, it's not really nicely done. I mean, just it's really nice and simple. You know, that's what they all look like. There are some stats on the back, and you've got Cultist of Demon Gorgon. Demon Bat, and I mean, you know, they're obviously all particular to the Stranger Things. But the artwork is really good. I do like the artwork a lot. There we go. So that's all those. So yeah, I think you are actually getting your money's worth from this starter set. And I think essentially this is the sort of thing you are going to play through once and enjoy. I mean, and that's it really. You don't need to play through anything because obviously it's not going to be supported beyond this package, I suppose. You know, you are going to play through this sort of like, you know, in reference to Stranger Things. Like, it would have been nice if that actually been done sort of like a little bit stiffer paper, I think, sort of like almost like a photo, or even like a postcard. But that's just a minor thing. So if you're a fan of Stranger Things and you're looking to try Dungeons and Dragons, then I don't think you're going to go wrong with this. It's going to be a good taste of what it's like. If you're a fan of Stranger Things and you play Dungeons and Dragons already, I think you're going to enjoy it for both of those reasons. And if you're a fan of Dungeons and Dragons, I think, worth looking at to sort of like see is something which you can pick up and play and have a nice physical presence on the table, because, you know, as you can see on the back there, you know, these are, you've got the standees, you're meant to be putting those out and kind of emulating the look of dungeons of, you know, ye oldie times back in the day, where you'd have your miniatures in your map out there where people could see it and emulate that style of game. Anyway, that's the Hellfire Club. Welcome to Hellfire Club, the Netflix Stranger Things Dungeons and Dragons crossover. I do hope you enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you did, then please do click on the like button down below. And if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you take the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to get more unboxings in the Nook, where typically you'll see me out here with a box in which I will have a role-playing game, role-playing settlement, or role-playing scenario, or in this case, a starter set for Dungeons and Dragons that crosses over with Stranger Things, that I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing in the Nook. I will be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.